Well, there's been a lot of predictions about a market collapse over the last few years, and I have made this prediction too because I haven't seen George Soros, who made massive short positions where he lost a large, not the most of his wealth, but he lost a significant amount of wealth betting that the S&P was going to go down. That was George Soros. In other words, nobody really knows 110%. But I can say the PE ratios are way skewed. And one of the things that is leading the stock market today is the tech industry. And it's only a few tech industries, and it could be reversed pretty quick because you have seen at what happened in 1999. We actually are in the same situation right now. That could be the leading edge that really pulls down the stock market. The other thing is that's wrong with this basic scenario is that when you're looking at the metals, it's not just the gold, silver, and platinum and palladium, but it's all the metals. If we were having such a hot economy, there'd be demand for these industrial metals like copper, zinc, lead, and so forth. That would bring the prices up, which along with silver would bring the price up. The only one that actually has been going up is, at least over the last couple of years, is palladium. And that may be due to tensions with Russia because platinum should be going up too because of all the problems, because it's very much similar to palladium in usage, but there's also it's more produced in South Africa, and there's a lot of political problems going on there. Platinum should be going up too. So, well, I look at it like this. I think basically that a lot of the economy is only there on paper. Yeah, the jobs report looks pretty good, but the jobs aren't really the high-paying jobs. They're definitely not the type of high-paying jobs that people had in the 1950s. Before the 1950s, one guy could go out there and work, and he'd have enough money to support his wife and his two kids and pay the mortgage on his house. Today, you got everybody working. It's like, and they can't even support all the debt they have, and on top of it, there's another angle too. 40% of the Americans actually save no money. They have no savings. They live paycheck to paycheck, and one little hiccup is going to really cause them a major problem. So, basically, people are really addicted to the financial elite are addicted to grabbing more and more money, and the people on the bottom, if you want to call them the people on the bottom, they're addicted to handouts from the government. So there's no safety net. And one of the solutions I really think is just to go back to old school, the old warrior way. Basically the warrior way of the Plains Indians, if you want to put it that way, because people with independent spirits have always survived. And a lot of times I put out a lot of different things about MacGyver type things on how to do things. And there's actually another side of everything that is really wrong too. And in a way it's related to this, but it's also because of the people's attitude has changed. In years past, people wanted to be independent. Maybe not quite as independent as these guys, but they wanted like a log cabin out there in the woods or something, and that was like their ideal dream, They have their own little place, 100%. You can do whatever you want in your land because it's your land. People today are moving into these, at least for the last several decades, moving into these homeowners associations and property owners associations and community development district areas. And I see a lot of those in Florida, and I think to myself, wow, they are one of the main things that are really screwing up this area, because when the taxation is much higher, which I always look at it like this: you don't own your property. The less you own your property, less and less and less, the more taxes you pay. New Jersey being the highest. And I'm bringing this up because, one of the things with silver holders, they want to be independent outside the financial system. And this is why it's not that popular to buy silver, because most people's attitudes is they want a safety umbrella over them. It's like not only do they want to be part of the electronic financial system, but they want to have an HOA with a gated community. They want their lawns manicured. I totally reject all that stuff. I actually think of that as communism. And people will look to the government if something goes wrong with the economy. And they'll expect the president, whoever it is, to fix it. And I term that fascism. That's really when you have, one guy really controlling the economy. People do not realize this is not a game. The safety net that these people willingly go into are really taking away all their freedoms in every respect. And on top of that, they're taking away the freedoms of people around them. Like in this instance, like when I talked about, electronically, we can look at, how you can't walk into a store today and use bullion, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous. You'll never be able to do that. Everybody pretty much is going cashless even now. And on top of it, you look at even at your private property rights. Your private property rights are even affected by HOAs, gated communities, and these community development districts. These highfalutin, high and mighty people that come into your area, they screw it up for all the people that live around them that don't want to be part of that, because they'll raise their taxes and stuff. And we get this constant media barrage how everything is great. It's not. I don't watch the media at all. Forget it. Forget it. But we're looking at, if you want true independence is to go outside the financial system. It does not have to be silver per se, but it does mean that you store real assets that you can use in the future. Think of yourself being out there in the wilds or out there on the plains. What would you really need? What good would it, if you're not, even if you had a debit card out here that was full of $10 million, the UPS truck is going to come out to this area and deliver something to you in the practical world. You got to think independent all the way. And this is one of the reasons I harp not only on silver, but also taking charge of your own health and also learning how to repair your own items that need to be repaired. And one thing also I want to point out is that do not trust the stuffed suits. 99% of the time, they're in there for a certain cut of your investment. And if things go really wrong, they're going to be like vaporware. They're going to be gone. It's like, don't trust anybody in a suit. Remember what, I always look at, you got communists, they're probably the worst ones. And then below that are like the professionals that feed off the system. It could be the IRS system, that they got to do the taxes and stuff, or it could be the legal system, which is designed against the common man for the most part. And you got these high fee yo-yos called attorneys that, will do things for a fee. But, if the system wasn't so crooked, you wouldn't need all that stuff. As a matter of fact, most people I think that are professionals are, like as I said, they're really only one step away from communist oligarchs. And you really need to get away from, doing business with any of those type of people at all, and be totally independent. I am fiercely independent. I always have been. And it doesn't matter even if I'm in a group or whatever. As a matter of fact, I don't want to brag on this, but I've never mentioned this before. And I don't want to hear this garbage about thank you for your service, because I always considered the Marine Corps, there's the few of the few. They're not all the few, I can tell you that right now. But on one of my fit reps, it had an expression put down, and the guy really didn't like me because he was a liberal, but he actually wrote good stuff about me. He said I had always had very high first-class PFTs. It was dedicated to learning BST knowledge with battle skills knowledge, very good at it. High expert in rifle and pistol. Unmatched knowledge in military history and current events. And then he put down that this Marine should be kept under glass, marked break in case of war. He actually put that on my fit rep. I couldn't believe that crap. But, I don't want to make that sound like I'm something special, but I definitely do have the independent spirit all the way. 110%. I consider myself Hellfire Warrior 1. And I don't like people that give me flowery excuses, use flowery titles. And one axiom I always went back to was the Roman general Carus. You look back at the time, the Persian and the Parthian satraps would all be adorning each other with 50 million titles. The god of the moon, and your light bestows knowledge upon me. Just being in your presence, they would kiss their butts left and right all around them. Carus, the Roman general, the emperor, he'd be in the camp eating the same coarse food as their soldiers, and the only thing that did, the way you could tell that he was the emperor, he had one simple cloak out of coarse cloth that was the color purple, and it was absolutely no 50 million titles given. It was like pure discipline all the way. But that basically, how this whole entire country formed was people came and they blazed a trail. You ever blaze a trail? It's not easy. You ever go bust brush going through the jungle or something like that? It's not easy. It's very difficult, right? Now, if you're the guy behind the first guy, it's a little easier. And then it gets easier and easier and easier. Until you're on the end, the trail is like totally trampled down for all the people that went ahead before you. And you're walking like on a trail that you would see in a city park. It's like perfectly smooth. Well, that's really what's happening in this country, because the first people that came here, well, these three guys are the first people that came here. They beat me here too, but I was the second guy on the trail. I'm the guy that got here in the 1600s in Virginia, okay? But the thing is, I'm still the second guy, right? The thing is, I still got that independent spirit. Today, people, I don't, they always talk about illegal immigration, legal. It don't matter. Everything's all set up. Everything's done. God, people come here today, they get an instant government check. They bring their grandmother who never put nothing in Social Security to get a check. This is why I know this system's going to collapse. And I put stuff out from Deagle.com. They still got some radical predictions. Like, we're coming up near 2020 now. We're in 2019. They're saying by 2025, the population of the United States is going to be 99 million, and the GDP is going to be a tiny fraction of what we got today. They might be right. This might be us in 5 years. Or this might be us in 5 years. I don't know. That's why I got 1 foot in this property up in Tennessee, because, I'm in Central Florida, but, it's been poisoned with all these HOAs and gated communities and highfalutin yo-yos that think they're special. And I know if something goes wrong, I don't want to be in this area, because these people that come down here, they be looking to the government for assistance and the government to set all the rules. And I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Eventually, I got to, really. I got to. But I'm 100% free and independent spirit all the way. I don't trust anybody that works for the government, period. I don't care what capacity they're in. Of course, I can't disobey everybody in the government. But I'm just saying I don't trust them. I don't trust them. So the moral of the story is, it's not just all about silver. It's about being free and independent, and being a warrior unto yourself. People don't respect people that don't fight for their own rights. You can even look at the American Plains Indians or whatever, or you can even look at the Confederacy or whatever. The Confederacy and the Cherokee that fought for the Confederacy, right? Cherokee Braves that fought for the Confederacy. Yeah, well, the Cherokee Braves actually didn't lose. They were just stopped fighting, basically. But the thing is, if you don't put up a fight, nobody respects you. But then there's times when you just don't want to be part of something. The American Plains Indians and a lot of people, they rejected the freaking white man's ways. And I can tell you right now, I don't totally agree with that. You know what I mean? But I do agree with a lot of things that, if you look at, Europe was screwed up really bad at it is screwed up. The feudal lords and all that. People came to the colonies to get away from it. And you know what happened? It became entrenched in the colonies. I'll give you a little story too. In New York City, the elite in New York City never had their wealth confiscated by the British during the American Revolution. but wealth was confiscated in New York State, surrounding states, and also in New York City only by a working middle-class merchant. But the elite's wealth was never confiscated by the British in New York City. You know why that is? Because they were always loyal to the British, and it's never changed. That's 99% of the problem in this country. New York never really was part of the revolution that formed this country and established individual rights of all mankind, supposedly. So, anyway, just want to point this out because I think the writing's on the wall for the stock market. I see the 500. I saw the 500-point drop yesterday, whatever it was, but I don't know what that means. But I'm thinking this, and I have been thinking this, and I'm not bad at pulling up, my own hunches that are not influenced by others. I think they're going to pull the rug out from Trump with the economy sometime in 2020 in a massive attempt to get him to lose the election. Best way to get a president to lose the election is to have the stock market come down. Not that I think Trump is 100% perfect or nothing. I don't. I know he's compromised. And I know part of the reason the economy is still floating really high is because Trump has surrounded himself with Wall Street people. But still, they don't really want him in there. And I think they're going to pull the rug out from underneath him via knocking this economy down and basically not the economy, but the stock market. And when all that capital disappears, you're going to see, that's going to be the end of that deal. So, pretty sure that's the way it's going to play out in 2020. And as a diversion, if there's going to be a lot of problems like that as a diversion, you might see, usually it's just typically the pattern. If you got a problem in the economy, diversion is warfare. The only thing I think is actually going to really drive the metals up and I've been saying this all along, is a major conflict in the Middle East somehow. In other words, oil is going to have to super spike really high. And people say, no, it can't. Well, it can. It doesn't take much to freaking change the price of commodities. And then once panic sets in, it takes a life of its own. But once the oil goes up, the gold's going to go up, the silver's going to go up, and all the commodities are going to freaking fly. So I look at it like this. That writing's on the wall at one point in time, and I thought this was going to happen by 2017, a couple years ago. But still, I bet you I'm not wrong. In the overall scheme of things, I don't think it's not happened 10, 20 years from now or some crazy crap like that. As a matter of fact, there's a little, I forgot where I got it from, but it was from a very responsible source. It says $24 trillion is the point of no return on government debt. We're rapidly, point of no return. That means they can't freaking fix it and bring it back. We're rapidly approaching that. As a matter of fact, under the Trump administration, and every administration is increasing they criticized Bush too, and then they criticized Obama. The debt was increasing even faster under Obama. It's increasing faster under Trump. So, this guy and his horse probably's got more wealth in his hand than you're going to be having in your electronic bank account if things keep going the way they are. And this is how I think that Deagle.com, Deagle, D-E-A-G-E-L, and it's a military hardware site which makes predictions on countries' GDPs and purchasing power parity and military strength, military expenditures, and population, out in the future, 5 years and stuff, into 2025. They got the USA massively reduced. They see that the United States is in the same pattern as the old Soviet Union was, where nobody expected it to collapse. But all of a sudden it did collapse, and the Berlin Wall came down and everything. Well, if the United States has a problem meeting its obligations, the first ones they're going to cut off from meeting, making payments to, is all these people that came here that brought their grandmother to get Social Security, whatever. They're going to stop all that stuff. They're going to keep the military going and infrastructure going and anything to protect, the inner circle. They're not going to be giving out, food assistance and all that. And that's going to cause that I think will cause a mass exodus out of the country. because those people, we got a large portion of the population, whether they're legal or illegal, really not native. Like you could say I'm not native, but well, my Italian side is only back to the late 1800s or 1903 at the earliest. My Confederate side and American Revolutionary side goes all the way back to the 1600s in Virginia. That's fairly native, you know. I'm not as native as this guy on a horse, but I'm fairly native. But I look at it. It's going to be, if the government actually freaking starts to, it's not going to be all. And the other way I think it can play out is not just not making payments, but say for instance the inflation causes those payments not to be worth as much, because if commodities go up, food goes up, because food is actually a very energy intensive product to not just make, but it's also to transport, and also the pesticides are involved with it. It's very energy intensive. So like if silver and oil go up and gold goes up, food is going to go up, and in effect that can make the food assistance going to people worth half of what it really is. So anyway, over and out. And like I said, I don't know what I'm going to title this video. Maybe something about don't trust the suits. That's what you really got to do, is don't trust the suits. You got to trust the warriors. Over and out.